Hello, this is a J-Man show on WBCA 102.9 FM, Boston's local community radio station. I'm your host, Jaiye Bynoe. My guest today is Crystal Powell, a wonderful actress and comedian. Hi, Crystal. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I appreciate your flexibility and your persistence and your just patience. And that's how I know everything that you do is going to be successful, because I've been all over the place now. How long has this been? We first got in contact during the pandemic?
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to say thank you for not giving up on me, and I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll start by saying, how did you get started in comedy? What made you want to do comedy?
What actually made me want, it's unfortunate, it's kind of a sad story, but it's like my mom's last gift to me. What actually made me start doing comedy is I lost my mother, unfortunately, really sudden. And thank you. And so being from Texas, I come from a big family, and everything I knew was in Texas. I was born in Tyler, Texas, raised in Tatum, Texas. But everything I knew was in that small town. I graduated from Prairie View, but that's only like 3 hours from where I'm from. So when my mom passed away, I just left and came to California. Had no idea what I was doing. I started doing background just to be able to, and I actually even started out, because when you're in college, everyone says what state they're from. They don't say the city and state. And one of my close friends actually was from Vallejo, California. And I saw her doing a Super Bowl, and I was like, hey, she was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh man, because she was like, how's your mom? And I was like, oh my God, my mom passed away. And she was like, well, just come back to California, come with me. And I was like, I'm going. But had I known where I was going, I mean, it's still, that's my extended additional family in Vallejo in the Bay Area. But when I got there, I kept saying, where's the Hollywood sign? Because I was in Northern California. But I stayed there for a year, saved me a little bit of money. And then I came to Los Angeles. And even then, like I said, I was doing background. I was doing marketing gigs. And my mother's passing, unfortunately, is around my birthday. So my nephew was here, and he was like, let's just go try it. You should just go try it. Plus, in my auditions, I was getting the feedback of, oh, she's too stiff, like she needs to loosen up, blah, blah, blah. So we took a shot of Patron and tried it, and I got booked my first night. And even then, I still didn't know if I was still like, okay, comedy can help pay for acting classes. I just thought I wanted to be an actress. And although I'm taking acting classes now, and that is something that I'm pursuing, I'm more naturally funny. Like, being funny is second nature to me. And acting is something that, we look at these people, these actors, and you're thinking, oh yeah, that's great. No, they have completely submerged themselves. And people can say the same thing about comedy, but when you're talented, you make it look easy. So even when I first started doing stand-up and getting a little bit of bookings, I was still like, oh, I want to be an actress, until I started really doing stand-up and getting time and getting my rhythm and flow on stage. And then I started noticing how I was feeling once it was finished. And I was like, this feeling, I want it to last forever. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still a nervous wreck every time before I hit a stage. That just means I want to do well. The times that I'm like, let me go on in here and knock this out real quick, I'd be in there, boom, 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 boom. So I love it. I wouldn't trade anything for the world. To me, the difficult part is traveling. Once I get there and get on stage, that's when the fun happens. But it's, running through the airport, trying to make a connection, your ankles looking like elephant ankles. You're eating nothing but carbs because you're eating airplane food and club food. So, I'm not even going to complain about the cons to it, but that's the hardest part. But the comedy part, once I get on stage, once I get to create, once I get in that moment, that's where the fun is.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. And I'm sorry about your mom, because my mother passed away too 5 years ago for a heart attack. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's how my mother passed away. She had a heart attack.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry for your loss. It's tough, man. We're in a sucky club, but it's just, it's just life. And I try to use that as a scope of when I get really, really upset about something, I always say, okay, you made it through that. So if we can make it through, get up to see another day after losing our parent, and I lost both my parents. So, you know, when you can make it through that, like, it might disappoint me, it might hurt for a little bit, and I'm okay. It's okay to feel that, but just understand I'm not going to die, and I will be able to get through it. So it's one of those clubs, but life is, you know, grand. I'm exhausted right now. I don't know if my eyes are red or not, but, you know, I can remember praying for these moments that I'm having. Like, I can remember saying, oh my God, I can't wait till I can do clubs. Oh my God, I can't wait till I can travel and do, you know, do shows. Mike Epps gave me $300 probably for 3 minutes, my first show at the San Diego Civic Center. And me and my girlfriends were there, Taja B. Simpson and Keita McGett, they were with me. Taja's on the Oval and Keita owns Team Bully Busters Muay Thai, and they were with me. And you would have thought that Mike gave me $100,000, but it was my first, you know, it was my first gig, so of getting actual paid. So I have no complaints. Like I said, I'll probably, with daylight savings time too, and I know it, thank you, because it's super late for you, but I'll be in bed by 8 p.m. because if I'm not working when I'm at home, night. You'd have thought I drank a bottle of NyQuil at 5 o'clock. That's how sleep I'll be. I just have to catch up on my rest because it's a lot sometimes. It can be. Excuse me.
I definitely understand, you know. And like I said, I saw you in a movie with you were
Earthquake. Cat Williams. Yeah, it was Earthquake, Cat Williams, Keke Palmer. Who else? It was so many comedians in that movie. And I'm not ashamed. I stand in my truth. I've been doing stand-up for 13 years now. And that movie was 2 minutes of fame. That was my first time doing stand-up without taking a shot because I thought I needed it to be able to perform. And so in 2 minutes of fame, I'm doing stand-up, but I've got a 6 a.m. call time. So I'm driving around Los Angeles trying to find a liquor store that I can get some type of something to give me some liquid courage. And we're on set, and when you're on set with Cat Williams, Jay Farrell, Earthquake, you know, Red Grant, these big hitters, Kimry, you want to do well. So when it's your turn, so when it was my turn, I had nothing in it, but I had to go. All of the greats walked out, and I fucking crushed. Excuse me, and I crushed. So that was my first time in that movie performing without, you know, and I'm not saying that I was, you know, getting drunk, but I would take me just a little shot just before I hit the stage. And now I realize I don't need it. You know, well, that was back then when that movie came out. But yeah, that was my first time performing without any type of alcohol in my system. But that was a fun movie. Yeah.
So you also the movie with Kevin Hart, you know, and you also on America's Got Talent, you know. That was a wonderful.
Yes. That was super fun for me. America's Got Talent. I just kind of got the bad end of the stick because it was right when COVID first started. I'll never forget. It was Friday the 13th, March 13th, when I was performing, because they were like, my call time was like 8 o'clock that morning. I didn't perform until 11 o'clock because they were trying to figure out, are we going to perform? Are we not? Are we going to perform? There was no audience. So I went in anyways. They pulled me last minute, said, okay, you're going to go. And I was like, oh. So my nerves, imagine my nerves all day. That was the longest 12 hours. So I go, I get it, I get passed on. Okay, now the next time we get ready to come on, COVID is in full swing and they have shut everything down. So now they were like, you have to have a performance in a garage or in your front yard. And I'm like, I live in an apartment. And I'll never forget, we came back on and I didn't advance and they were like, well, you just didn't advance. I was like, how am I not advancing? And I didn't even get to perform. And they were like, we're sorry, that's just the rules, you didn't advance. And I'll tell you, that night I was having a little pity party. It's like midnight and I get this phone call. It's private. And so I'm really in my feelings and I'm like, ugh, who is calling me private at this time of night? So I answer so aggressively, like, hello. And it's this English woman and she's going, hello, may I speak to Crystal Powell? And I was like, okay, it's midnight. It's not a bill collector. And I was like, this is she. And she said, hold a moment. And it's freaking Simon Cowell. Oh, wow. And he was like, I loved you when you walked out when I first saw you. he said, but I loved you even more when you took up for yourself, because I was just like, how do I not get to advance? And I did not get to perform, but it was just COVID. And so right when I had that happen, then we had COVID, then we had our eyes on George Floyd and that Craze Bowl. So no one really, so my season kind of came and went, but it's still a blessing. It's on my resume. It was a great time. I talk to the producers all the time, and she's always like, I was like, you guys need to bring us all back from that time. But it was a great experience. Simon Cowell and those guys over there, they're super nice. I actually it was funny. I performed on a show with Howie, and he couldn't recognize me because I had my mask on. And I was like, hey, I'm Crystal. I did America's Got Talent. I'm the Star Spangled Banner girl. And he was like, hey, I can recognize you with your mask on. So yeah, it was a good night over there at Supernova in Los Angeles.
Wow, that sounds like a fun night. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you working on any new projects right now coming out?
Yes, I actually just wrapped, before I went to Mexico, I just wrapped Soulful and Funny. And Soulful and Funny is my own production, and it's where I'm combining soul food with comedy, and the two things that we don't need to be without. And we're just sitting down talking with comics about, what soul food means to them, what's going on in their comedy career, the pros and cons, what they like, dislike. And then we do it over some food. We pray over some food. We wish each other well, and we have some amazing food. And I'll tell you, production was a couple of weeks. And so we're going around to all these soul food restaurants. And I tell you, I was eating soul food every single day. I need to detox for the next 2 weeks just to cleanse, because I was getting spoiled on those, and just all types of desserts and just yumminess. So I have that should be coming out in 2022. I just signed on with Carnival to start doing some cruise performances. This is my first time doing it. I don't know how it's going to be, but I'm going into it with open arms. And then I've got a couple of auditions that I'm waiting on some information for. So send me all the positive vibes, because, I want to close the year out. But it's been an amazing year. I'm truly, truly blessed. I'm still on the Vivica Fox Funny by Nature tour. We were fortunate enough to work slowed down for me, but we were still able to work during the pandemic. We have a show coming up December 4th in New Orleans. That's myself, Vivica, Kelly Kells, Just Niche, and Ashima Franklin. So that's in New Orleans. And then I'll be on Quake's house and doing his radio show for LOL Network. That's a weekly gig. So like I said, I have no complaints over here. Of course, I would always want to be richer and a little thinner, but other than that, like, life is great.
That's wonderful to hear. Is there any chance you might come to Boston for a show?
You know what? I don't know when I'll be to Boston. That 5-hour flight, for one, it's like when I fly 5 hours, I want to be out of the country. But I had some Boston gigs lined up before the pandemic, and then I don't know if they didn't pick it back up, or maybe they went with someone else. But I did have some Boston appointments on my calendar, but as of right now, I don't. But I'll be sure to let you. I'm in New York, actually, at the Broadway Comedy Club, so I don't know who all's listening to this or where you're going to put it. But for those listening, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to please repost my flyer. I'll be at the Broadway Comedy Club November 20th at 10 p.m. Tickets are on sale right now. Even if you can't come, buy a ticket, please. I'm trying to show that I can get some people out that, of course, the funny's there, but if nobody can come and support, it doesn't matter. So that's my struggle right now. That's my hurdle that I'm trying to work on.
I hear. I also going to be doing a meet greet so we can meet you after your show.
Yeah. After every show, like, I always have a meet and greet. I always stand out, because I don't take anyone that comes to a show of mine for granted, because of the simple fact that I can't do a show without anyone in the audience. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate, and I do know that it's a pandemic. People are making up for the money that was lost during the pandemic. So everything has been inflated. So if someone spends $20 or $30 to buy a ticket to come and see me, hell yeah, we're going to talk after the club, after the show, and take a couple of pictures, man. So I'm grateful, and I'm enjoying the journey. I'm finally learning, and I'm working on myself as far as enjoying the journey, because we're always thinking about, like I said, I prayed for these moments, but once you get there, you're still looking that way, you know, wanting more. And so I'm starting to learn now to sit in these accomplishments, enjoy the journey, just continue to try to do better than I was yesterday, and to be kind to people, and it'll work. Might not work in 3 months, but if I keep going, it's going to work.
Absolutely. So, because I'd love to meet you from Boston. I'll try to come New York and see you in person. So
you know what you want to do? See, if, wherever those clubs are in Boston, you just call those clubs and say, hey, I want to see Crystal Powell. Can you guys get her here? Then we'll just, that's how you do it. You hit the clubs.
Okay.
Then they have my, you know, it's got to be a demand out there. Can't be just me and you. They're going to be like, y'all can Zoom like y'all are doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, you know. Yes. Okay. So, wow. So how can we follow you on social media? Yes.
On all my social media, it's Crystal P Comedy. That's on Instagram, Crystal Powell Comedy on Facebook, and Crystal P Comedy on TikTok. And I'm trying to get more of a social presence. I'm like, that's my daily like thing. Like, I'm trying to hold myself accountable to just be online. Cause see, I'm an old school comic. Look at me saying old school comic. Some of the old school comics would be like, what? But I've been in the trenches, and you know, it's harder when you've been brought up on the stage to just get right in front of the camera. And I'm getting in front of the camera. I'm learning that those internet comics that are in front of the camera, that's not easy. That's, you know, take after take after take after take, unless you one take Jake. So it's all subjective, and it's all difficult, and it all requires discipline. So I'm trying to hold myself accountable. If y'all see me out there and y'all don't start seeing me having some type of content videos, I want you to get in my DM and say, hey, Crystal, where's this content? What's going on? Because I got to be smarter, work smarter, not harder.
I definitely understand that, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess my last question is, what advice can you give people that want to be a comedian like you? What advice can you give us so they can be next Crystal or you?
The advice that I would give upcoming comic or a new comic or just a comedian, you know, a lot of times people are, you know, hesitant. They're like, oh my goodness, I can't wait until I can completely support myself telling jokes, doing my gigs. And so they'll persuade people that having another job isn't good, isn't cool, but eating noodles at 40 isn't cool. Says thy guts. You know what I mean? So what I would tell other comedians is always have you a backup plan, always have you. Now, if you are going to have another job, make sure it doesn't conflict with what you are trying to do, and make sure that the same amount of time that you're giving to that day job, so to speak, you're giving it to your own stuff. But the more comfortable you are financially, the easier it is for you to pick and choose the gigs that you take. For me, as a woman, like, yeah, there was a time where, and I'm lucky enough and blessed enough where I found things that work with my gigs, because most millionaires have several supplemental income threads coming in. So if I can do 2 or 3 gigs, and one of them might not so happen to be comedy, so be it. Because if mama wants lobster and steak tomorrow night, she can go get lobster and steak. So that's my deal. And to, you know, don't burn bridges, get on stages as much as possible. And, you know, open mics are great, but those are comics that you're performing for. You know, get on those stages, get on those shows. It doesn't matter if it's 2 people in there, because people that go to an audience, audience members that aren't comics, they're coming to see a show. Comedians are in a show, and they're thinking about their set. There might be helping you punch yours up. It just, you know, you never know. But the biggest deal is don't burn bridges. Get on stages as much as you can. Have a stream of income coming in, so that and do not come to Los Angeles without a plan. Yeah, there are some great success stories where people came out, slept in their car for 2 weeks, and they made it. Well, my people of color, brown people, we all know that it's the same thing as with life. We don't have as many opportunities. So that you won't be out here having to do something strange for some change, have a plan, and have some income coming in, and always put just as much time that you're putting into someone else's job, if not double, into yourself. And invest in headshots. If you're a comedian and you're submitting yourself for jobs, get a headshot, have a 3 or 5 minute clip of, you know, a clean set, have a regular set. When someone asks you about your comedy, say, oh, what's your email address? Here's my EPK, here's my headshot, here's my bio. Be professional, because that's another thing. There's so many funny comedians. Everybody's funny, but everybody doesn't have their business together. You know what I mean? Yes. They can be funny. They can stand up on a stage. I don't know. When it comes to, oh, do you have your passport? I have a gig for you. You need to be, you know, got to be in Puerto Rico tomorrow, 25,000. Oh, I can't make it. I don't have a passport. Oh, okay, I can't make it. You know, have your things in order.
That sounds good, you know, and because you know, because if you're going to have that also, like you said, you know, we got to have it in order, you know, because, you know. Yeah. I definitely agree, you know.
Yeah, it is. It's good. But like I said, I'm just grateful. I'm blessed. And I'm just enjoying the journey. Like I said, I'll probably go to bed right after this, because I've just been going kind of nonstop for the last 3 weeks. And even this, I was like, oh, I'm not leaving until Thanksgiving. And I picked a gig up in Laughlin, Nevada, but that's right here by LA Saturday. And then, like I said, New York next weekend, I'm in New York. But, you know, this is what I asked for. So I got to put my big girl britches on and get on out there.
Well, like I said, you're definitely doing your thing, sister. You know, I mean, definitely inspired me to be on to be a better, to be a better actor, be a better filmmaker. You know, follow you. Learn from the best, learn from you. You know, and just want to have my show and talk to you, learn from hear your experience. You know, because definitely inspired me. You know, so yeah, so. Okay.
Well, I appreciate it, man. This has been great, and like I said, you guys don't understand. This man has been super patient with me, and he popped in my live and I was in Mexico, so of course, absolutely. And I'm super grateful, and I wish you nothing but success, and all the things, everything that you need is right there at your fingertips and your heart's desire. And I'm grateful to be here tonight. So thank you for sharing your platform.
Absolutely. I hope to see you in Boston, Sun Temple, New York, you know, so I'll try.
Okay, like I said, yeah, Boston's not that far from New York. Come to Broadway Comedy Club next Saturday. And like I said, call those clubs and say, hey, I want to see Crystal Powell in there, and maybe we can get something going.
Okay.
All right.
You got bless you. Hope to see you next week. Okay. God bless you.
All right. Thank you so much, and God bless you as well. Thank you. Good night.
Okay, good night. Thanks again.